What do the start of World War I and the sound of music have in common? They were both surrounded on people that were from Austria. And today we're going to talk about the history of Austria, we're going to talk about the people of Austria, and then we're going to talk about some of their gestures and greetings that they use. First, we're going to begin with the history. Austria kind of had a very slow and steady history until about the 1900s when things got interesting. At the beginning of the Austrian history, they had a pretty steady reign of two families. It was the first Otto, who was the eventual emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, is the one that is credited with the founding of Austria and its current boundaries. And then after that is when the Babenberg family came into reign, and they were only in reign for like 100 years when the Habsburg dynasty rose to power, and that was about the late 1200s. In the 20th century is when Austria really started to change a lot. Franz Ferdinand, who was the heir apparent to the throne in 1914 when he was assassinated, and his assassination is what led to the spiral that became World War I. And then after post-World War I was the first Austrian empire or republic, but that didn't work out so well, and it became part of Germany's rule until after World War II, when the Allies split it up into 4 quadrants and ruled it that way. It wasn't until 1955 that the Austria that we know today came into power and became a neutral power. And now we're going to talk a little bit about its people. The history that it went through, or that was in the country, can be seen throughout the people. Most people in Austria are actually Germanic backgrounds. You also have some Serbians and Croatians, but most of the people are German, and most people live in cities, not in the country area. Fun fact, German is the official language of Austria, but English is required to graduate from high school, and so most people also speak English. When it comes to their gestures and greetings, Austria is pretty typically like any other English country. They revolve around being polite in public, so they do handshakes in greetings and in partings. And then Austrian people don't say "how are you" unless they actually want to know how you are and want a long, detailed answer. What's also really important is that they determine in all conversations if they're Mr. or Mrs. Like, they will always state their title. And then in different cultures, you're going to get simple gestures are going to have different meanings. So when they use hand gestures, which is very rarely, they use their whole hand instead of their pointer finger. And their index finger also, if they have it towards their forehead and are making a gesture with that, it's an insult. Another insult is actually chewing gum in public. They don't chew gum in public, or it's an insult. And in conclusion, I told you about the history of Austria, and then I talked to you about the people, and then we ended about the gestures and greetings. So I hope you learned a little bit about Austria today.